Hi Twitch and Facebook. Let me just get Instagram ready. I just had to run to the bathroom. Oh, what is happening? I hate trying to set up Instagram. Makes it so difficult. Hello! Yay! Everything's up now. Welcome to day 2. Sorry if you can hear guitar in the background. I've closed doors and stuff like that, but sound does leak, so whatever. There'll be a soundtrack. I hope that you all had a great time yesterday and you're all caught up to where I am. If you're on Twitch and Facebook, you'll be able to see where I caught up, and if you're on Instagram, and now you'll be able to see where we're at. So we're going to try and do the rest of the backstitch today. And hi Bridget on Facebook, no, on YouTube, yay! We're going to do backstitch and then hopefully get onto some stem stitch. That'll be exciting. And yeah, I usually, with my previous stitch alongs, I usually kind of faff about for 5 minutes to give everyone sort of time to jump on. And I'm making that wobble so much. My desk is really wobbly, so I just did it again. Anyway, I was saying, yeah, usually I give 5 minutes to kind of let people jump on and get ready and all of that. So I'm just trying to think of what to talk about. I guess just a reminder that if you are using one of the alternate color options that I provided, that's kind of up to you on exactly like which colors should go where. I didn't really have like a set idea of like where all the greens should go and which flowers should be this color and which ones should be this color, and it's kind of obvious that they all have yellow, that the B should be the dark gray and yellow, and the lettering should be all dark gray. And YouTuber expressed for me because the screen is bigger, these old eyes appreciate it. Aw, well, I'm glad that I can help you out with that, so that's good. There's a couple of things in the pattern that's kind of obvious, like where stuff should go. So hopefully you figure it out, and hope that you already have figured it out. But either way, I need to move a couple of things. Let's move my keyboard, and I'm just going to bump my phone. That can go away. But I think we might just get started, unless anyone has any questions. But we're going to be using more greens today. I've got all my colors lined up for me, myself. And I might just sweep off my desk, because apparently I have crumbs everywhere. There we go. That's better. Cool. Well, I'm going to move my phone anyway. So let's get started on the backstitch, and I will set everything up. And try not to press the buttons on my phone. I'm so paranoid about that. Oh, this phone holder is so strong. You get to see the mess on my desk again if you're on Instagram. And we just want to roll up the fabric there so that it doesn't get caught in my stitches. Some scissors. Cool. So I'm just going to keep using this big needle again. Oh, I had forgot to do one thing. by the end of this stitch along, I will remember all the steps I need to take before a stream goes live. It's easy with my Thursday night streams. I've kind of got that down to a T, but these stitch alongs are a lot more involved, purely because I'm incorporating Instagram. I need to get the chat up. There we go. Okay, I've got the chat up on for Instagram on my computer, so now I can see that, because I can't see it on my phone, which is there, which if you're on Twitch and YouTube and Facebook, you'll be able to see that. All this stuff in the way, like, but anyway, you're here to look at this, not at me, so that's fine. All right, let's get started. We're going to do another knot. So just a reminder, we're going to pinch our floss. I'm just getting my camera to focus. Pinch our floss underneath the needle. We're going to wrap it around a bunch of times. Do one more for luck. Pinch it in between finger and thumb. And then pull it through. Oh, I did it very tight. Pull it through and make our knot. And then, one more thing I forgot to do. I forgot to bring up my pattern on my computer. Almost ready. Cool. Okay, so we've done this one, and then the next one is this little dandelion. So we're just going to come up at the base of it like we were doing yesterday, and then just follow it along. Now remember, if you've got any questions or you're stuck on something, just shout out if you're live. If you're watching this after the fact, like in the future, basically, that's okay too. You can write a comment as you're watching, and as long as it's not in the future in 50 years or so, I will be able to answer you. So just a reminder, I want all of my little spokes to come together here. I'm going to make a hole in my fabric. So I'm going to come up halfway between these 2 points. And my floss is just knotted on the back. There we go. Not knotted, it tangled. And then we're going to come up there. And then we just go around in our little fan. Should have like a microphone underneath my work for that sweet, sweet embroidery ASMR. I don't know about anyone else, but I really like the sound of pulling my floss through the material. So just a point out, so you can see how tangled this is trying to get right now. I'll just move my camera for that stream. So you can see how tangled this is getting. If you find that your thread is getting really tangled, so it's all like wound up here, the best thing to do is actually hang your work upside down. I can't do that while I'm streaming, so what I'm just doing sort of off camera is letting it kind of hang and unwind a little bit, and then you'll find that it doesn't tangle anywhere near as bad. It's normal for that to happen because you actually kind of inadvertently spin the floss as you go. And there's that one. So I'm going to do a cheeky thing, and because the next two, well, the last two that we're doing is this one and this one, I'm actually going to jump over behind my work and start here, go down and then start here and then go up, just to not cut off my thread constantly. I'm feeling okay with doing that. What actually comes in from over here to all over here, but that's okay. I love that sound. Yeah. Floss through material sound. I love the embroidery ASMR. It's such a satisfying sound. Yeah. See, you guys know what's up. I'm going to come up in the opposite end, and that's because that's the last stitch, and then I'm going to skip from here to here behind my work and just go up from there. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. I don't mind skipping or what's the other term for it? Carrying. I don't mind carrying my floss short distances like that because it actually is going to save me floss. And you're not really going to notice something small like that. If you're carrying it from like all the way over here to all the way over here, then you're going to have a big long line behind your work, which could get caught with your other stitches, or it could get you could puncture through it when you're working with something else, and you can split the floss that way. And yeah, that's why I don't recommend carrying your floss a lot across big distances. It's just better to be safe than sorry. So I'm going to need to let it hang again. There we go. Once it starts getting shorter, it tangles quicker. So again, I'm just going halfway between where I've ended up and where I want to end up. Wasn't really exactly halfway, but it's good enough. And then after this we can use a new colour. Changing stitches and changing colours is always good, in my opinion. That's a bit far away. And the last one. Yay! Alright, I'm gonna flip it over and cut our thread. look at that. See? Lovely neat back. I didn't do it yesterday before, or this before the stream. So this is the tail. This is like the tail that we just made. You can just see it on the other streams that aren't Instagram. I'm actually going to trim these really close to the knot, and that way I don't accidentally pull through those bits of floss with my other stitches. I meant to do it. Yeah, I meant to do it before this, but I forgot. Some people remember to do this before they even start stitching, and kudos to those people. There's another one in there, but oh no, there we go. Get out. Oh. It just makes it look a little bit neater as well. Alrighty. Now, I'm just gonna change over my floss. So the next one we're going to do is Did I not put a color? Oh, I did put a color on it. Okay, good. I was worried I missed the next stitch on my pattern, so you guys wouldn't have been able to know what we were doing properly. So the next one we're going to do is the flowers that have these little, like, I don't know what the flower's called. I'm so bad at not figuring out what the flowers are called. But these ones that are going to be white, or well, they are white on the pattern. So I can show you this. So the dark stems here. So this one and any that have this kind of leaf. So yeah, we're going to do that because those ones are backstitched too. So we need our darkest green, which is 500 if you're following along with the original colors. I've got a tiny little cut of it here, which I'm going to use up, which has 2 strands. And because it's so tiny, I'm actually not going to start on the very left one. I'm going to do this tiny little leaf one. So again, I'm going to do my quilter's knot. Pull it through. I do them so tight that I have trouble pulling them. And then if you're clever, you snip the tail off now, and then it's much neater. Cool. And now we do the same thing, but this time we get to use a new color. Yay! Is it that color? Hang on, let me... Yes, okay, good. Okay. I was just doubting what I'd done for a second there. Hopefully the lack of people compared to yesterday is purely because people are trying to catch up, or they're working, and it wasn't a reflection of my teaching. Okay, so before I keep rambling on, because this little leaf flower thing it splits off, I'm actually going to come up at the point where a backstitch, you may not be able to see that. Let me zoom in, where I can zoom in. So Twitch and YouTube and Facebook will be able to see it better, but I can't zoom in with Instagram, so sorry. But basically, I'm coming up where I came up and down with a backstitch so that I can do the little branched bit Hopefully that makes sense. I don't know what other words to use. And you can see I've kind of... I'll get another needle. That way I can point better. You can see the leaf here actually stops more like in the middle of this back stitch. I've done that deliberately because I want to make sure that there's no gap between the leaf itself and the stem of the leaf. So just keep that in mind too. But that little bit's done and I've run out of floss, so that was good timing. We'll get some more green. So this time I can show you splitting 6 strands. So the amount I pull, if you're watching outside of Instagram, you can see me. So what I like to get regarding length is I pull my arm out and I go to my shoulder, and that's as much as I cut off. And I'm kind of tall and I've got long arms, so that is quite a long bit of thread. Let me measure it actually. Oh, I keep letting it go and it's bouncing. Oh, stop it. Just so that you, because this is as I've said a few times, this is for beginners. So I have pulled off 24 inches, which is about 60 centimeters. I've got a big long ruler and it wasn't long enough, so I had to just hack it a little bit. But anyway, so I've got my 6 strands of my super long floss. I'm trying to fan them all out so you can see all 6 strands, but you get the point. There we go, there's all 6. So my camera is having a nightmare. I'm trying to focus. There's all 6. I'm going to grab one, not both that I want, just one, and pull it through. I have not let go of my hand and it is pulled through without any knots. I'm going to get this one that's a bit funny and do it again. I'm going to zoom it out. So I'm going to pull through, just keep pulling. You can see it's all bunched up here, but that's fine because as soon as it pulls through, it all just lets go. So that's my 2 strands that I want. I'm just winding it back onto my bobbin. And then we get the 2 ends, put them together, and I make sure that they're separated as I pull them together, and that way they don't form a knot as I'm trying to just straighten them out. Thread my needle, and again I lick my thread. You shouldn't do that. The acid in your saliva, or whatever it's called, the acidity in your saliva or something, actually wears down the eye of your needle quicker, and that is why wait, are you wearing a bluey shirt? I am wearing a bluey shirt. Let me stand up. It's chilly from the show Bluey, because I'm Australian and my kids, and I probably like it more than my kids, but my kids love the show. So I saw it on Amazon and I was like, I have to buy that. Anyway, for those of you watching on Instagram, the TV show Bluey is an Australian TV show, and I'm wearing a top that has mum written on the top of it and a picture of the mum of the family from the show. And her name is Chili. So yes, sorry about the tangent. Well, let's get back to this. So I'm going to do this big long one. If it wasn't obvious. Probably was. So before I keep going, I'm obviously going to overlap this other one that I've done twice. You can decide however you like to stitch it. You can go under your previous stitches if you want to. You can just ignore it if you want to. I'm choosing to ignore it because when I look at my finished piece here, you can see I actually did the opposite. I did the dark ones first. See, these browny green ones are actually all over the top of the dark green ones. So I'm choosing to do it the other way around. But to me personally, it's not really a focus of the piece. The focus of the piece is all up here, with the colors and the lettering. This is all just visually to represent what it is, not to be exact and perfect and accurate. Hopefully that makes sense. So don't fret about, is this one sitting on top of this one? Is that accurate? Is that going to, is that logical or whatever? Don't stress about that. My granddaughter and I watch it when she comes over. It's the best. It is such a good show. I love it so much. And Bluey is so cute. Yes. I like Bingo. And I was kind of biased because for a whole year, my two daughters were 6 and 4. And I just thought that was cute, that the two girls in the family on the show are both 6 and 4. And yeah. But anyway. My two daughters are the opposite of the characters. My oldest is like the youngest on the show, and my youngest is like the oldest on the show. But yeah, it's a good show. Highly recommend. It's on Disney Plus if you're an American. If I remember when I finish this day's stitch along for Instagram, I'll show off my t-shirt. So, but I get funny looks. I got funny looks when I dropped off my kids at school today from 2 teachers and a parent. It was just like a chuckle kind of look. It probably looks strange because it says mum and not mom. Alright, so before we keep going up this stem, we are going to quickly do a switch in stitch. Haha, that rhymes. And we're going to do what's technically called a running stitch. This is a stitch that we're going to learn both for, you can't see it on that stream, but up here, this is what this dotted line is. But also we're going to use a running stitch to finish the piece itself. So we're going to learn it now, I've just realized, and we're going to be using it later as well. So it's not like this is a new stitch that I didn't announce we were going to learn. But basically what we're wanting to do is, again, save our floss from crossing over in strange places. So we're going to do a running stitch up here. We're actually going to do the running stitch back down, and then keep going up to this one, and then a running stitch up and then down, and then keep going with backstitch. Hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, it should make sense once you see what's going on. So we're gonna pause here because the last stitch should connect with this gap here of the backstitch that I've just done. So I'm actually going to come up where I normally would to do the back stitch, but instead of going back towards the stem, we're going to do a stitch ahead of ourselves, and then we're going to jump ahead again the same distance that we want our stitches to be, and then go ahead again. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to come up in the same gap, give it the same gap, and come back down again. And then we want this one to be our last running stitch, and then we're going to come back, we're going to do the running stitch backwards now. So I'm going to come back up. I was just checking my cameras are all in the right spot. We're going to come back up at the base or the bottom side of that last stitch we just did, and then we're going to connect it with the previous one, and then we're going to do that again. We're going to come up at the base of that one and go in at the tip of the next one. So this is technically, like I said, technically a running stitch. It's also another way to do a back stitch. But it means that we're finishing it back where we started. So when you flip over your work, it doesn't have this big long strand that you've carried from the middle of nowhere. And then we're going to continue our regular back stitch. So I'm going to come up there and connect it in there. Hopefully that makes sense. Oh, I've got fur, cat fur on my nose. It's driving me bonkers. So that, where I've just come up, is where I want this stem to attach. So I'm going to go in. I'm going to do one more along the main stem so that I'm in that point there. And then I'm going to come back, I'm going to come up at the distance, the way that I want a stitch to be. And then my floss is all tangled again. And I'm going to go in and do a little running stitch. So down and then up. And this one's just a really short one, so I'm going to come in there and finish that one off there. So I'm now backtracking, coming up at the base of that last stitch, coming in at the tip of the previous stitch, up at the base, and then in to the stem itself. And then continue my back stitch. So just a reminder, if that's confusing, that's totally understandable. If you don't mind how your back looks, if you don't mind that you could potentially see floss through your fabric, just do a back stitch. Like, don't stress about it. Even if you need to cut your thread and come back up and then do a back stitch there, that's fine as well. Whatever works for you. Embroidery has rules in a way, but like with so many things, rules are meant to be broken, or they're meant to be bent and tested. Oh, needle didn't want to come up. So although there are specific rules on how to do each stitch, you can do whatever the hell you want, really. Alright, so I've deliberately gone up quite far because I, again, like with, these leaves, I want to make sure that there's no gap between this stem and the root, I don't know, the base of the flower. So it doesn't look like it's broken, it actually is connected. So with that, I'm going to flip over my work and tie off my thread. And you can see how tangled that is now. So it's really easy to just let it hang when it's not connected. And now it's not all tangled. Okay, So I've only got a little bit left again. I'm gonna skip this tall flower and I'm gonna do the next little one. So I'm gonna do it a bit faster this time. I'm gonna do my quilter's knot. So oops. 1, oh my gosh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That'll do. And then I like to kind of just shorten it a little bit because again, I grew up learning that floss, you should be frugal with your floss. And I figured out why I was taught that. And my mum's probably potentially going to deny this when she sees these videos, if she watches them. But I think it's because in Australia, the cost of floss is like 3 times the amount as it is in America. Probably 4 times if you take into consideration currency conversion. So you can't really, well, I mean, you could potentially, but in a way, you can't really afford to be wasteful with your floss. Plus, I don't like being wasteful if I can help it. So there's a fun fact for you all. Oh, my floss is knotted. Oh, this is a bad one. I'm gonna move that down so that stays there. Oh no, that was easy. Okay. I like it when I assume the worst and it's actually a simple fix. It's always nice. So this one doesn't have any little like branching leaves or anything like that. So this one's pretty simple. I might even have enough floss to do the next tiny one. I like to think that part of watching me stitch is seeing thread chicken happen constantly. Okay. We are not going to risk that because that is all I've got left, which is not a lot. So we are going to get some more floss. Making a little collection of scrappy threads, which I think, oh, you can just see it on Instagram. You can't see it on the other platforms. It's because my desk is black. Oh, which, I'll be honest, before I started streaming, black desk, yes. But since streaming and taking more pictures of my work and stuff, I really want a white desk. Because they just look so much cleaner. They're probably a nuisance to keep clean. But, yeah, and I know that Instagram and stuff has influenced me a lot because you see all these crisp white desks that people work on, and peer pressure works wonders on me. Alright, so I'm going to trim off this little tail, put that in my little pile. Alright, now we're going to do this big flower. What's the time? Oh my gosh. I might pick up the pace a little bit. I was hoping to do stem stitch today, but at this rate, we will not get there. We'll try and get all the back stitch done today though, okay? So I've seen a couple of new people jump on Instagram. If you've got any questions, now is a great time to ask. I'm more than happy to answer questions, even if you think that it's a really dumb question. I'm under the mind frame that there are no stupid questions. Or I guess the only stupid question is one that's not asked. But I surprise myself with the knowledge that I have regarding stitching. So all I want to do is impart wisdom onto people. So we're going to do our little sneaky, well, I'm going to do the little sneaky running stitch trick again. So I'm going to do one more stitch there. And then branch up here. Oh, I didn't do it. I just realized. Oops, that's okay. It's really short, so. Just pretend I did it. Oh, this thread does not want to stop tangling. So you can see that I've done like a little wonky bit here. And to fix that kind of thing, I actually just like wriggle my thread a little bit. And see, that's straightened it up a little bit. But those kinds of things I recommend you don't worry about. Or you try not to worry about. It just helps give it a handmade look. Oh, are we going to get all this backstitch done today? I've just looked at the rest of the piece and oh boy. And just a reminder that we're going to go up into the flower at least one more so that we don't have any gaps. Do that one as a bit longer. There we go. Alright, let's flip it over and trim our thread. Okay, so here's a teaching moment. So I did have a knot that I didn't notice in my thread, and so now I've got this big loose loop here, and I'm too far along to pull that through. So what I'm going to do is actually like snag it up here, so that way it's tucked out of the way. Missed. Yeah, so it's tucked out of the way. I'm not going to accidentally catch it on something like in the future of the piece, and I'm just running it down so now it's, you know, barely visible now. But those kinds of things will happen. Especially with this floss that just wants to be all curled. Look at, yeah. Alright. Let's do the next one. I'm gonna have to move my hoop. So we're not going to completely finish the back stitching because the bee's wings are also back stitched too. And if I recall correctly, and I will double check this, I think it's going to be easier to do the bee's wings once we've done the bee's body. So we might do them later. move my hoop because it's in the way. Come on. There we go. I'm going to do this tiny one with this tiny bit of thread that I've got left. Some weird dust or something on it. Okay, I'm paranoid that I didn't plug my phone in and that it's going to run out of battery, so there we go. Of course my computer's now like, hey, you just plugged your phone in. What do you want to do with it? Like, nothing, I just want it to charge. We need to get some more floss. I've got this pre-cut bit of 2 already that I'm just going to use. So I haven't licked it, but you can see when you've got a really big eye of your needle, it's very easy. I'm just so used to working with cross-stitch needles, which have a really skinny eye. So I'm so used to just going bleh and licking my thread. So when you embroider a piece, is it generally easier to do it by stitch type, like all the back stitches and all the stem stitches? No, it's just how I've always done it. And that's sort of the same thing as when I cross stitch. I like to do all of one color first. Well, not first. I like to finish each color as I go. And I've just been kind of, when it comes to my stitch alongs, that's how I've been doing things so that it doesn't get too confusing, switching between different stitches. So it's not correct to finish a stitch first, especially if you're doing layering of a piece, kind of like what we are. So there is a correct order to do it for this kind of piece, because we need to get all of these little stems done before we can do the leaves and the flowers, because they all sit on top of the stems. So for example, right here we've got this stem going through this leaf. If we did the leaf first and then the stem, it was not going to look very good. We want to just pretend the leaf doesn't exist or won't exist and then stitch it over the top. Hopefully that makes sense. But yes, it's purely just because I thought that it would be easier for people to sort of grasp a stitch first and then practice it and then move on to the next stitch. You can see on my little row of French knots, well, not French knots, of quilter's knots. And yes, we are going to do French knots at some point. Not today, but we will be. And I promise you, they are not as scary as you might think. I like French knots. I like colonial knots better, but they're a bit more confusing and not very beginner friendly, so we're not going to do those. if you want to see how to do a colonial knot, you can go to one of my other stitch along videos, because I explained it there. It's my Simply Florals pattern. Okay, gotcha, good to know. No worries. Oh, I still got that cat hair up my nose. I don't think we're going to get through all the back stitching today. I'm sorry, everybody. It's good practice though. Back stitching is like integral, in my opinion. Because it's such a simple stitch and it can make such a big difference in a piece. Especially cross stitching. Back stitching can change a whole cross stitch, the way it looks. We're going to do some more. Oh no, we're not. No, we're not. We're going to do this next flower one. And if I run out of floss, I run out of floss. It's not a big deal. It's just like if we deliberately ended a bit of a cut of floss. So I'm just thinking that I might run over the hour. I like to try and keep each stitch along video to about an hour, which is why I have no idea how long it takes to do, like, sorry, how many days a stitch along will take, because sometimes I do more explaining and less stitching, and sometimes I just have a rough day and my floss keeps tangling, and like there's so many factors that play into it. But yeah, so I try to keep it to an hour, and I'm thinking that I might run over today to just finish off the back stitching so that we can move on, because I think a day and a half of practicing back stitching is plenty. And it would be nice to move on to something new tomorrow. Also a reminder that the stitch along is running Monday through Fridays, and Fridays is a hard finish of 1 o'clock because my kids have early dismissal at school, so I have to pick them up. There's some sound feedback coming through, just to let you know. Could be my computer. I'm using a stand microphone. Yeah, I'm not sure. So because I don't have the right length, I'm actually going to come back here instead of doing in one more stitch here. So I'm going to come back on this stitch to do my fancy little running stitch. And I'm also not going to come up in the right spot, so I'm actually I'm visually following the line that this little branch makes. I'm actually going to come in underneath that stitch, and then we just wiggle that back over, and that connects it back up again. So I wasn't paying attention. properly. I'm gonna unwind that. I'm gonna run out of floss. Maybe? Oh, it's floss chicken. Get ready, ladies and gentlemen, and non-binary friends. Can be pretty close. It's gonna be really close. Oh my gosh. I did it. Now, well, do I have enough thread to cut it off? I do. Not easily, but I do. There we go. Oh. Oh no, I pulled the wrong bit. Come on. Don't mind me, everybody. Actually gonna get another needle. Pull it through. I can't hold it in place, there we go. There we go. I got my needle stuck in the knot. There we go. Alright. So I'm going to have to cut off another bit of this colour. So I just pull it out to my arm length, which we measured is about 24 inches or 60 centimetres. And we will try and get the rest of this backstitch done. There's only 3 more bits. Oops. Yeah, there's only 3 more bits that need this colour for backstitching. So we're not going to run too late. Almost dropped my needle on the floor. That's never a good thing to have happen. Especially sharp needles. Alright. Sorry, I've just done that all off camera. Because I'm rushing. How do you keep your stitch length even? Mine always looks wonky. Practice. Honestly. And I know that it sucks to hear that. But following your line, the finer your pen is, that like leaves a mark, whether you're using a water-soluble pen or a heat erasable pen, the finer your line is, the easier it is to make a nice curve. But practice and keeping your backstitch stitches uniform in length. What else? Yeah, more practice, honestly. I am a very visual person, so I can look at where I'm actually coming up and can see what it looks like already. So I can tell if where I'm coming up is the right place or not. Thank you, I'll keep practicing. No worries. But like, it kind of, if it's wonky-ish, you know, like as long as you're not going, you know, zigzag all over the place, as long as it's gives the idea of what you're trying to convey, which is the stems of flowers. Like, you got to remember that some flower stems in real life are bent and twisted, but also you're not a machine. This shows that it's handmade, that every stitch has been done by someone using their hands. I do kind of stress the point of not worrying about your piece looking perfect. And I know, trust me, it is so much easier to say than do the thought of it doesn't have to be perfect, because I battle with it personally on a daily basis. But it really is important to remember that it's not just about the finished piece. Oh, this is so tangled. It's not just about how the finished piece looks, it's about enjoying the process and remembering that it is a handmade piece. And yeah, that imperfections can actually look really lovely. Pulled a bit of white fluff through. That's interesting. Nose is still itchy. Not cool, body. Not cool. So to make sure that I'm going in exactly in the like previous stitch, I'm actually like, just to explain it a bit better, I'm actually sort of lightly dragging my needle, and because I've practiced a lot, I'm getting it right most of the time. I'm not needing to go from like all the way over here to, oh, there it is. I'm dragging my needle ever so slightly to make sure that I've found the hole that I was just working in. And that way you're not going to have tiny little gaps of no thread, basically. Because although I do stress imperfections can be beautiful, and to not worry about whether or not your lines are completely straight and all of that, sometimes there are things that you just don't want to have happen, and that is, you know, gaps in your backstitch, because that's not how a backstitch is supposed to look, and things like that. Sorry, my floss is getting really tangled because I haven't been able to let it hang. So it's kind of hating life right now. This is a really long stitch. I went way too far with that one. See, it's just tangled really bad at the back. There we go. That's a really long stitch, that one. But Kate is in a hurry. I just won my first thread chicken piece. Yes! Congratulations, Bridget. It's a good feeling. I somehow, and I think it's just like the universe shining down on me or something like that. I somehow manage to win thread chicken more often than I don't. Like, I don't remember the last time I didn't. I've got like an innate ability to just be able to gauge whether or not I actually have enough thread for the thing that I'm wanting to do. And if you watch me stream on Thursday evenings, you'll understand I do it quite a bit. Which, for those of you on Instagram, I do not stream Thursday evenings on Instagram. That would be really difficult to do. That is purely on Twitch and Facebook and YouTube, at least for now. I am not sure if I'm going to keep this multi-stream thing going, because it is kind of pricey. The key to winning thread chicken is to give up before you lose. That is not a bad train of thought, but sometimes it's fun to have that, like, living on the edge feel, I'll admit. Let's do this tiny little one down here. And then we got one more to go, and then we will wrap up for the day. Thanks for everyone for sticking around a bit past 1 o'clock, or whatever time it is for you. I've noticed that a lot of my followers are East Coast, so I guess at the moment it's 4 o'clock for you guys. So anyway. I'm not going to have to worry about thread chicken on this one though, because I've got so much and it's only this little bit here, so we will be all good. Alright, itchy nose again. God damn it. Alright, last one. So tomorrow, I should probably say this after I finish stitching. Oh, hang on. I love that I can stitch on my lunch break. Yes. That's amazing. I usually watch you Friday morning while I'm stitching. We're on different time zones, so it's late for me. Yeah. I can't start any earlier on Thursday evenings, because I gotta put my kids to bed, and 8 o'clock is kind of pushing it for me. But my husband and I, we talked about me streaming once a week in the evenings, and if my kids are being difficult, then he's cool with me like disappearing 15 minutes before 8 o'clock to get set up and stuff. So yeah, he has his gaming night on Tuesdays with his friends, so I do the kid nonsense on that night. It's a good little deal we've got going on at the moment. How do you stitch and eat though, Shelley? Because if I could figure out how to snack, which honestly this would be a bad thing, but if I could figure out how to snack and stitch, that'd be so good. I'm afraid that I'm gonna get my work all messy. But my mum watches she was able to join me live last week, but my mum usually watches Friday mornings when I've streamed as well, so. But she's in Australia, so my 8 o'clock is her like 1 o'clock or something in the afternoon. Yeah, that's almost all of Backstitch. Like I said, I'll move this camera up. These little wings are Backstitch too, but we will leave them. Let me look. We could. What's the time? No, we might do it we'll do it another time, but I'll think about it and we might do the wings before the body. But yeah, so we've done almost all the back stitching. We are ready to move on to a new stitch tomorrow called the stem stitch, and that is the lighter green. So I like to call the first color that we did sort of like a muddy green. So this lighter green we'll be doing tomorrow, and that'll be stem stitch, and the lettering up here is also stem stitch too. So that'll be exciting. We'll be able to, I'd say that we'll definitely get through all of the stems here, but depending on how long that takes, we might hold off and do the lettering another time. But yeah, otherwise that's looking good. Oops, caught my needle. I'll move my phone. I'm gonna move this. Yeah, I'll move this. And then move this over here. Yay, there we go. Alright, so I saw a lot of people sort of jump in and watch for a bit, so I've had quite a few people sort of come and go, which is awesome. And I've had Bridget over on YouTube watching, and apparently there's someone watching on Twitch, but nobody said anything, but that's okay. So yeah, thanks so much. I'm trying not to bump my desk again because my phone goes crazy. This tripod thing that I have is new, and it's very wobbly. But anyway, that's everything, I think. Hooray! Hooray! So thanks so much for joining, and someone sent a request to be live. Sorry about that. I'm not going to do that because I'm about to wrap up. But oh yeah, this is my top. I needed to show you guys on Instagram. So this is my bluey t-shirt with chili on it. Yeah, so tomorrow 12 o'clock again, which I will set up on Instagram. I will set up another like countdown thing, that's what it is, so that you can tap that and it'll tell you when I'm ready to go live, so that you can quickly jump on and you'll get notified and all that cool stuff. But yeah, otherwise hopefully you're all caught up, and if you're not, then you've got a whole day to catch up, so don't worry about it. But otherwise I will see you next time. Bye.